Transition, the process of change from one condition to another.
We are now at a new crossroad where change is evident once again.
What does not serve us must transform us anew.
Returning to our original state of oneness and true nature of that which created who we truly are.
Confusion was the way of the past. Enlightenment is the way of the now and future, shedding away the layers of deceit.
We now bring you the transformation of the two who started as one. Our fearless planet never stands still.
Earth has been in a process of transition, and we are not exempt from this remarkable ongoing reality.
Welcome to Transition Radio.
Hello, welcome to Real Talk with the Cummings.
Welcome to our new place.
It's the same place. We just had one bed removed since we don't use that second bed and we wanted the space, and now we get to like set up our chairs and have more room.
We get to use our camping chairs
for
our journey.
Yeah.
And you guys remember that journey that we were on?
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, we do. Definitely. So yeah, God, we're very, very red today between the red chairs and my red shirt. It's very red, but
it's nice though.
Yeah, I like it. It's
got,
a lot more room now because that second bed was kind of like in the way. You know?
It was like we could lie down on that bed just as good as we were lying down on this bed.
And plus, now it's like right after dinner, I hate to just like prop in bed. Yeah, so this rocks, and I love rocking. Yeah.
And we could get up and dance.
Yeah, we can get up and dance with the chairs on the side.
Like right now.
No, we got a show to do right now. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in here again. It's Thursday. Week flying like that. It really does.
It does. It's like this year is like, this year had like 2 years in it.
It feels like it.
Doesn't it?
Feels like, but that's been our life, though. I mean, we've been together, gosh, since January of 2015. Right? That's when we started. And so we're heading almost on 3 years. Seems like I've been saying almost 3 years forever now. Seems like we've had like 6 years. Wow. Long time. We've been through a lot.
It seems like a decade. Like we've been together for a decade.
Yeah, definitely.
But we don't feel like we're getting older.
No, actually,
like we're getting
younger. Yeah, definitely. It's all that good vegan food. And
especially yesterday, you made a vegan taco that was out of this world. If you guys, I mean, I know that vegan gets a bad rap, but really, if you were to have tried this, you would eat. You would eat again.
People think that vegan is boring and it's just lettuce and carrots. And I mean,
you can make it that if you want.
But there's, I mean, I cook fusion style. And let me see here.
There's way more to it than that.
Way more.
We've got all kinds of spices and flavorings, and everything's all natural. It was a taco among tacos, because it was like, it was going to be a burrito.
It was, but it was too much stuff. I may start from the beginning. There's too much stuff to roll, so I was like big salad, whatever excess from the tofu and vegan cheese and sun-dried tomato and all that stuff. It was just like really, really good.
Any Mexican restaurant would really benefit from having a vegan taco on
and presentation. Presentation to me, if it doesn't appeal to the eyes and the smell and the taste, then no one's going to want it.
Presentation was like A++, like a New York high cuisine restaurant.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like everything was like carefully set, and the symmetry was just so.
I love to create, and cooking.
It
was just part of my creation, an extension of creation. So before we start the show, I'm going to talk a little bit about you know, the interactions we have on Facebook with different people. We're not going to mention names because, you know, names are not good to mention. But, you know, we are going to repeat this again. We don't have a problem with people expressing, you know. Obviously, there are females that are more masculine expression. There are males that have more of a feminine expression, and they prefer women's clothing, and that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as that is what you're doing, not getting the delusion of thinking that you were born wrong, that you're a girl, or if you were born a girl and you feel like a man, that you think you're a man. And trust me, you know, I went through that, and once your inner voice starts to talk to you, once you realize, and once you see all these people that are saying the same thing, and you kind of go, oh, I do not want to be part of that.
You know, there was a day back in the 60s and 70s, and old school transsexuals will tell you this. They'll tell you, no, we're not women. We know that we're not.
Right.
But we choose to live our lives, and we do what we do, right? But there came a day that the word trans women are women came about.
Yeah.
And that was the catchphrase that people were using. And it was like, okay, no. And then now, this is the new one.
Yeah.
Trans women are not just women. They were never men.
Right. I mean, what kind of crazy world do we live in where people are saying such a thing? And this is all part of the delusion, you know? And again, I'm not trying to be mean, but come on, people. You've got to have some sort of reality, you know? Schizophrenics, I think they're Superman. We don't give them capes and have them fly off the roof because they're going to die. They're going to fall flat and splatter their brains all over the concrete.
Our friend Ryan is with us.
Hi, Ryan. How you doing?
He's finally got it working on his iPad.
Oh, God. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, you know, what we're saying is, like, be real, people. Know your limitations. Know who you are. Be true to yourself. Get to know yourself, as I mentioned on Tuesday's show. Really develop a good relationship with self so that mentally you evolve well and you're able to cope with things instead of all the non-coping mechanisms that you all develop, which is going to hurt you in the end.
I mean, when we think about it, gender is a beautiful canvas that we can all play on. You know, it's a wonderful thing. You know, there are some males and some females who would never venture to explore gender in the way that you and I have.
Right.
And, you know, the thing is that biology is biology. I mean, it's not, there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing, I mean, do I wish I was born into a different situation? You know, yeah, but, you know, then, I don't know. There's always these all ifs, ands, and buts and stuff. And the reality is that we are who we are.
The grass is greener, we think, on the other side. Now, little girls, think about it. Little girls watch their brothers play. They take their shirt off, and they get to be rough and tough, and they get to play with the cool toys. You know, that's how little girls think. Little boys might be thinking something different. Gosh, you know, they see the girls playing jumping rope and playing with dolls, and they're like, gosh, I wish I could be them. And it's either because of some sort of feeling left out when you were growing up that made you feel that way. I mean, there's different reasons for why people think the way they do. But in reality, if you learn to really, like, learn you, love you, and say, gosh, yeah, I'm pretty cool. It's pretty cool female. You know, I had this cool, you know, duality about myself, but I didn't think so because everybody made fun of the way that I was. You know, and I'm sure people made fun of the way that you were. You were sensitive. You were a talker. You know, one time you told me your dad beat you because the report card said you talk too much.
Yeah.
You know, and things of that nature. So, you know, you probably got told, well, boys don't talk as much. So what you start equating, well, maybe then I'm a girl. And, you know, the way they treated me, well, then maybe I'm a boy. And we really, as trans people, we have a lot of self-esteem issues. So what do? We try to create this alter ego to get rid of all the hurt and the pain, or we think we are, because you never really get rid of it.
But what was that? What was that meme that we saw that said, you know, either you can carefully raise your child, or what was it?
Are they going to have a lot of psychological issues? Something near that.
It was something, or either you spend time raising your child right, or you deal with a lifelong of problems as an adult, or something.
Depression, anxiety, personality disorder, bipolar. I mean, just a slew of things.
We don't really know what the importance is. I mean, parents, you really have a huge job.
Responsibility. You know, you have to take a test to drive a car, to get a license, when no parents are ever given a test to see if they are going to be good parents. Are they equipped to raise this child, to be a productive society member that's going to be well mentally stable and so forth and so on. But, you know, and not to blame our parents, because they did the best they could.
I mean, my dad came from the rainforest. His dad, you know, I remember growing up when I visited Puerto Rico, I was like, you know, visiting, and my grandfather was like selling moonshine, you know, like some homemade rum to friends and stuff. And he lived underneath the house, and my grandma lived up on inside the main house. So I don't know what the dynamics are without family. You know, and I don't know what the dynamics are on how my dad was raised.
Right, exactly. So I did the best I could.
My dad did the best he could.
All our parents do. I mean, in this day and age, there's no excuse, because psychology is something that's more thought out by parents. You know, younger parents now, they try to do some reading, you know, on good parenting, child psychology.
But even then, they become helicopter parents.
Oh, yeah.
So they kind of like, okay, like, parents can just baby their kids, like mothers especially, will baby their boys so much that they end up squashing their development. You know, because, I mean, not too much, not too little.
It's a fine line.
It's like the Goldilocks thing, you know, it's like just right.
Yeah, exactly.
Enough to give them space to wander and fall maybe on their own, but then to be there to help them.
But then, as adults, we also have to take responsibility, because it's easy to put blame, and then we have to also realize, okay, there's something going on with me here, and we really have to dissect why we do what we do. You know, not sit there and live in fairyland and say, I was born in the wrong body. You know, I wish I would have been this. I wish we could wish till we're blue in the face, but the reality is we are who we are. And I think the longer or the faster people learn to deal with reality and stop creating fantasyville.
I understand that, and I'm saying that society does its role. Convincing us the other way. You know, I mean, the O.J. Simpson trial with the glove, if it doesn't fit,
you must have quit.
You must have quit. Yeah. I mean, it's the same. It's that principle. Like, everyone knew that O.J. killed Nicole and Ron, you know, but there came a time in O.J.'s life where he was hearing that he was innocent, that he didn't do it. So and maybe he's thinking to himself, literally, he's thinking, you know what?
I didn't do it.
I didn't do that. I don't remember.
You believe your lies.
And then you forget all kinds of things. And then you think, oh, I was here, and I was there, and I was there. And I was
because that's what the attorneys kind of prompt, you know. And
so, I mean,
you believe your lies.
Right. But he confessed to, you know, LAPD that he had done it. But then, you know, let's take this and twist it over to the trans agenda.
Right.
And we have people, their therapists tell them, oh, honey, you are a woman. Really? Even with my beard?
Yeah.
Even with my 5 kids? You know, it's like, yes, you should have started earlier. And they're like a deer caught in the headlights. Like,
whoa,
I guess I am. And then they tell you, why don't you go celebrate? Enjoy your freedom as a wonderful woman that you are.
Enablers that create, you know, that's why it's important. It's very important for people to know the truth, to know their limitations, to know what they're doing, to not give up their entire life based on this fantasy. Because in the end, you know, it's going to come back and bite them in the ass, you know, and it's important to know, you know, like today everybody wants to be a star. They want to be a singer. They want to be an actor, you know, and not everybody's got talent. But, you know, they're told from the time they're little by their mom. The moms always think that their kids
can do
anything, you know. You can be whatever you want to be. But when you get down, you know, to Hollywood and you see the competition and you go, oh, crap.
Or, you know, a kid is a star player in his high school, a little Christian school or something, and he does really well, and he thinks he can make it to the major leagues. He shows up at camp, and there's kids that are like way ahead of him, you know, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, I guess I'm not so good. You know, I'm not as good as I thought I was, you know, because there's always going to be somebody that's better than you. You know, there's always going to be a prettier person to take your place, you know, if you think, you know, like.
And again, it's like what we're creating, and it's something that's brand new. Okay, there's always been people there's always been effeminate men. There've always been masculine women. There've always been masculine women that prefer rough and tough play. They prefer more manly things, and there've always been men that prefer more womanly things because that's personality. You know, personality should not be restricted to your sex. A person should be able to express the way they want. And nowadays, you fast forward, you know, you're medicalizing it. You're promoting it because there's money to be made. So now gender clinics are popping all over the place. Everyone and their mother was born in the wrong body. You know, they could look like a linebacker, you know, and it's like, it's wrong. These therapists are really hurting people. This agenda is really hurting people because in the long run, when they do what they do, and at the end of the game, and they've done everything they've done, and we know a lot of trans people that have done everything, and you still look at them and you go, that's still a man. And not even if they look beautiful. Okay, at the end of the day, as they age, their manliness is going to come out. The excess, you know, through the years of using hormones is going to create a rebound effect. And, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, I wanted to share because I think you've got a great insight in how you speak. You know, you write the language better than I do. I'm Cuban and born in Cuba. And,
I'm Puerto Rican.
Yeah, but you weren't born in Puerto Rico. I came to the United States when I was 5. And it's just, I don't know, it's just my handicap, if you will. So I write and I love to write, but I'm not, you know, that great. But I love the way you put things. And I wanted to share, you know, the discussion that we had with this individual. Again, we're not going to mention any names. This person it's almost like you're reading a fortune cookie, you know, so we call them Confucius. So Lena writes, life is not one big Confucius cliche. Our lives are more complicated and intricate than wholesale generalization. I still see that you continue to ignore the real issues that you face and would rather sugarcoat it with generalization of human existence. We are really running away from the reality here. All of us are all of us use transition as the ultimate form of escape. You are no different. And that's so true. It's escapism for whatever reason.
You say that your message is that of faith, hope, and love. But how can that be? What faith do you have your faith on? Becoming the ultimate form of what you of you that you want for yourself? What hope is there in telling people that if they do not like their body, that they're free to cut into it and subject themselves to dangerous body modifications and a lifelong addiction to cross-sex hormones? What love is it that you are wanting to share with the world? Is it the kind of love that says that you can do what you can to find love? If you can't find love for yourself, then go ahead and do what you can to find love for yourself.
I do not expect you to be open here. You have done so much to change you, and a lot of trans people do. So, like, even after everything, and they look in the mirror and they go, "Oh, damn, what did I do?" But now they feel like, "Oh, I can't do anything else. Now I'm screwed, and I'm stuck with this." You have far too much invested in the version of you. You have the respect that you wanted from yourself, but do you really love your own self now? Are you able to share that love with someone else? This person is single, has been single, and I've had conversations with them. Of course, they will never admit this in public, and that because they are attracted to women. to women, and they consider a male to feminine.
And they were married before.
And they were married and had kids.
Children,
their father had 2 children.
Now.
Yeah. So it's like no lesbian would give them the time of day, because as a once lesbian identifying individual, I could tell you very night and day between a genetically born female and a trans woman. And they're just, you know, as if I was still considered lesbian, I would not, you know, have a relationship with, you know, a trans woman. I would prefer a genetic woman. I don't get it. Someone else. Okay, I don't get it. Well then, again, maybe I do, because no man likes to admit that they're wrong. You cannot convince me that what you did to your body was somehow the right thing to do. No one becomes a better person by destroying their body. And that's another thing I've never understood about trans people. I'm becoming the ultimate me, or the, what is it to say, the
my authentic
self, but they have to like do a haul over, you know, literally like construction, changing the whole thing. Either you love the house or you have to rebuild a new house. You can't, it makes no sense to me.
You should dare to try and feel the pain of others, because they said that they would never dare to try and feel the pain. We should all dare to look outside of ourselves and, yes, connect and share their pain. Mark has done that for me. Empathy and compassion is a virtue of women. Men are not innately equipped to process life that way. There's no mistaking the nurturing and love that only a woman can provide. No trans woman possesses that type of essence either. That is special and unique to females born females. And, you know, that's why dads always go, "You're okay. Yeah. You just skinned your knee. Oh, that's nothing." You know, it's
come
like,
on, get up, man.
You know, and then the mom's like, "I've been, oh my gosh. You know,
come here. Oh my God. Where's the antibiotics cream?" And, you know,
put the Band-Aid on.
And you know,
I mean, it's like,
there are women that don't have a lot of nurturing because of whatever reason, the way they were raised, or mom.
That's not the norm.
But that's not the norm. The norm is women tend to be more nurturing. Men, as much as they try, you know, they try to be as whatever, it's not the same. It's not. I could tell you, because like I mentioned earlier, I've been with trans women, and I've been with women. Not the same.
Not the same.
You're right. The male species always tries to use the experience of others as some way to draw parallels to their own life and circumstances. Men are continued to not conditioned to not be social, so everything is always viewed from this "how does that affect my world" mentality. Women, on the other hand, are not that way at all. They react and conduct their lives in a manner that generally looks to what may be better for the tribe. They look beyond themselves and look to what is best for their offsprings and family.
And that's the thing. I mean, you look at, you know, how men do things, and it's always from this perspective of, well, how does that affect me?
Yeah. What does it mean for me?
How does that look for me? You know, I mean, it's like you would say stuff to me in the past, and I'd be like, yeah, but. And about me, you know, it's like everything. It's like the world revolves around the male species, and anything else is like a part of that orbit. But the orbit is going around me, you know, and that's the thing about with women in general, is that, you know, they live and die for their children. Mothers they'll do anything to protect their child. You know, and it's like, you know, I just remember, you know, that movie Sally Field, and she was a woman that was taken by her Iranian husband, and they were put into like, you know, into like this country, her and her daughter, made to abide by the rules of, you know, of Sharia law and all that, and you know. The movie was called Not Without My Daughter. And it was like she was not going to leave without her daughter with her. And she did everything. And they eventually made it out alive. But they went through all kinds of things. And that's like a mother's...
It's an instinct.
Their instinct.
Yeah, it's like everything for, you know, their kids. And if they don't have kids, then it's everything for their husband. And I find myself always doing this. I will always give you the better of whatever. I would always, because it's like, to me, you're my baby. And that's how, I mean, for me having to nurture you back to health from that initial accident, you brought out all the nurturing nature in me. And that's how I see life, you know, and how, and that's not something that I was ever used to before, because I never had kids and I never really
didn't do that with Violet?
No, Violet did that with me, because Violet was the wife and I was playing along as a co-husband. And, you know, it was just like a different, when I was presenting as female, then we did that for each other. The female relationships that I was in, you know, it was like a very mutual thing, you know.
So continues, you and I will never know what it is like, because no matter what we do, no matter how we want to be perceived, deep down inside, we know the truth. Sex is not an assignment. It is a design that was built into us. Nothing that we can do can change our divine design.
So why do you deflect your reality? Because there are always, you know, always like cliche stuff. What do you mean by saying that many women love you as women? Because when we pointed out, you know, that you're having trouble finding a relationship because they don't see you as a woman, you know, but right away, you know, they have to say like, well, women see me as a woman. I could have any woman I want. It's like, they're lying.
I'm a busy person. Yeah. Maybe I should stop doing what I'm doing and take some time out to get out there and date some more. It's like,
and they're lying.
I know I can.
They're lying because they have confided me, because I know this person personally. We are friends, and we've gone out as friends, dinner just as friends, and they've confined all this stuff in me. So how can that be? What is it like to be a woman? So-and-so. How do you know? Why do you constantly have to justify your reasoning? Do you not hurt? Does loneliness not bite you in the ass? I've seen a lot of deflection and denial going on. Your response is not a very woman one at all, so-and-so. I know. I live with a woman right now. That's you saying that about me. And I know how she would respond to this. I also have an ex-wife, as well as you do too. You know what a woman is all about, and it's not all what any trans woman could ever hope to be.
Again, I ask you, why can't you be honest? What is wrong with admitting fear and pain? Why do you paint this picture of being picky with your choices in women? Like, I can have whatever woman I want. I'm so busy with my job and my career.
Yeah, all these lonely.
That I have all these things going on.
They put all this I'm lonely. I wish I was married. I'm gonna all that stuff on the wall. You know.
You have no idea just how this sounds. How would a woman respond like this? You think that you're being attacked because they said that. Now I feel like, even though I'm being attacked, and it's like, no, we're just pointing out things. Mm-hmm. That's not an attack. An attack is like slamming someone and, you know, knocking them down and being abusive, you know. But, okay, when we're talking about biology and we're talking about the mistakes that are made when people do cut into their body, have their bodies cut into, and live a life with cross-sex hormones that damages them and ages them prematurely and causes all kinds of diseases. You know, I said, you're not a victim. You alone are responsible for you. Mark really looked up to you. He really had a lot of respect for your journey as a trans woman, transitioning, same as you did.
Yeah, we transitioned around the same time. You know, they're Cuban like I am. We've done a lot of shows together, documentaries and things of that nature. And I always used to say, any trans person that I feel is not crazy, that I feel that, you know, is not in La La Land or whatever, and they totally disappointed me. And I'm like, wow, there went the last hope that I had, you know.
Now that is called into great question, because you seem to be no different than all of the others in this community.
Yeah.
It is sad. Gender is not the problem. Being able to be honest about ourselves is. You can't even bring yourself to admit pain. I don't get it. Who are you?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's like this person, you know, they work with a gender therapist, psychologist person in the South Florida area, and we've worked on things with them in the past, and been on panels and discussions and TV shows and seminars and whatnot. And I was just telling them, I mean, you as a person who has transitioned for a long time and know what it's like, know what is happening within the trans community, you still insist on training a new set of gender therapists every week to do your bidding, you know, to transition more children, put more children into a sterilized state, and to ruin the life, really, of these people. Now, they're not just an enabler, but they're like the destroyer. You know,
they're part of the problem.
They're I mean,
and knowing that they're not happy, they're lying, and knowing that they're lonely, knowing that they've had complications with their surgery 15 years post.
Why not be honest about it? Why not say, you know what, I thought transition was going to work for me, but it has ended up in really causing lots of destruction in my life. And I mean, although I'm not at the place where I want to do anything about it now, going back into surgery would be painful, and trying to redo the past and stuff. But I mean,
I can reach more people.
All I have to say is, well, if I hadn't have gone through what I went through, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. No, duh.
I mean, you could go on some spiritual path, take yoga, and do all sorts of things, and be a different person from the person that you were before you started this whole spiritual path. You don't have to slice and dice, and you don't have to like pollute your body with hormones to grow as an individual.
And you don't have to advocate that it constantly be done to an even younger and younger generation. I mean, this younger generation, they don't have anyone to go off of as far as like, you know, people that are older that are trans, because you know what? They're not alive anymore.
They're dying.
There are accounts of older trans women who talk about their friends dying, and that they're the only ones left from the group that used to pal around.
And there were
they're called fallen soldiers.
Thousands of them, you know, because there was like it's almost like a project that was being created, and a bunch of people were being transitioned. A lot of them were gay men that were into the model industry, or they were into prostituting themselves, and they were on the streets, and they did drugs and alcohol. A lot of them have committed suicide. A lot of them have gotten cancer and gotten sick of some sort of diseases and died. But these are things that are not talked about. This is kept hush-hush.
There was a trans woman recently who passed away. His relative, because they were seen walking around their outside of their apartment in New York City, and the next day they were dead in their apartment. And this person was, they hadn't been operated or anything, so they had their equipment, and they were a prostitute, and they were trans. And I've been trying to find information about this person. Their name is Vanessa Cruz, or Ruby Bell, they used to go by. They had 2 pages, and they were a prostitute, and they sold their body, and they were all over the United States, traveling, making money like you would never believe. And they're dead now. They were like in their early 30s, and I looked in the obituary. I looked on the mortuary, all that, and there was no mention.
Silence.
It's like silent.
Because they don't want to report certain things, especially with the ones that prostitute themselves. There's a very large percentage of trans women, and now even trans men are doing that. They're prostituting themselves, and it's really sad, because it's like, why go through everything that you've gone through and try to live this fantasy to then like destroy yourselves with drug, alcohol, prostituting yourself, not knowing if you're going to live or die because if someone's going to hurt you. And it's like self-induced. you know, self-induced. I mean, it's like live a normal life, learn to love yourself for who you are, you know, can build something for yourself instead of destruction. Anyway, we'll leave the other one for because then we've got a lot of stuff to cover still. Cultivating the archetypal feminine in men and women, debunking an exclusionary limiting view. It's an article I found was like pretty interesting. Recently, in light of our current cultural meets psychological, spiritual meets political meets the soul of a nation in crisis, I've heard directly and secondhand from men and women a notion that women have the power to change the world for the better. I see, however, some difficulty in the statement's implied limitation and the exclusion of the mention of men.
Having formally studied and extensively written on the historical theoretical roots of the archetypal feminine's role in informing and shaping modern psychological and spiritual thought and practice, as well as its implication for crafting a psyche that is whole and mature, along with a planet as explored in the field of eco-psychology that is healthy and attainable and sustainable. My guess is that perhaps there lies a misunderstanding rooted in a lack of familiarity with the depth psychological underpinnings of the exclusionary statement.
So here's what I hope it's helpful in distinction, as I've noted with some concerns, how this issue seems to be growing in popularity over the last couple of decades. Men also have the power to change this world for the more evolved, expansive, more ecocentric, and more soul-centric for the better. You know, it's like instead of wanting to change your gender, be in tune with the gender that you have and work on your values, how you can make this world a better place, how you could change the bad rap that men have gotten in the world. Some of the most open-hearted, soul-centered, empathic, intuitive, nurturing, and awake human beings I've known are men. Men are not the problem.
Lack of psychological developmental maturity and the outright willingness to dive deep into our depths and do what it takes to get to know ourselves and our purpose for being here. What we came to give is one of the core issues that has befallen us collectively now.
Let me explain. My sense is that this troubling, subtly exclusionary statement with regard to women being the ones with the power for this sort of world change may be alluding to the power of the archetypal feminine. That particular way of being and behaving that is demonstratively nurturing, creative, feeling, caring, destructive in service of creation, evolution, tending, flowing, consensus, building, open, compassionate, wholehearted, tender, intuitive, wildly empathic, and fierce.
There is, however, a common misconception about the presence of the archetypal feminine. The archetypal feminine is no more present and available to be activated, actuated, and fully instantiated within the psyche of a woman than it is within the psyche of a man.
And you know, I believe it's the way women are raising their children, and even men, the way they're raising their children, to almost turn that good point of men off and then create this fighting machine, this warrior, you know.
It's like we were talking earlier, oxytocin is produced in men at the same rate that it's produced in women. But for some odd reason, oxytocin, which is the love hormone, the touchy-feely hormone, that is turned off in men by societal influence, by social expectation. So what is supposed to be there and supposed to flow freely in men is hindered
and turned off. And I wrote on my blog yesterday regarding the brain, you know, that we start off with this clean slate, and our interaction in the world is what creates the synapses, the connections, our personality, and so forth and so on. Well, think about it. You know, this child is told they have to be rough and tough, don't cry, don't do this. So that oxytocin receptor gets diminished, gets turned off because of the way this child's being brought up in the world. Anyway, among the inner work for men and women is to look hard into dark places to identify within, excavate, liberate, and integrate. The presence of the archetypal masculine, feminine, psychological, embodied energies within ourselves and bring those energies, once well balanced and made conscious, to bear to serve the healing and evolution of the soul of the world, one fiercely compassionate move at a time.
Our cultural milieu of the last few hundred years has been marked by the presence of the highly unconscious archetypal masculine, the aspects of the archetypal masculine that do great harm, make great wars among individuals and countries.
This sort of disintegrated archetypal masculine, think Zeus, Pluto, Hades, hyper-aggressive, competitive, consumerist, money-grabbing, misogynistic, ravaging of the earth, and now nearly soulless culture, mind you, tends to both reflect and trigger many individuals' wounds and traumas. Then there's further press on, and perhaps now more than ever, work to aggressively dissuade our living, loving, critical thinking, and finally, serving solidity with care, from a consciously cultivated stance grounded in a fierce integration of the archetypal feminine and masculine in our consciousness.
It's not at all about females nor males. It's about soul. Soul means psyche in Greek, and it is ultimately about our willingness to forgo a small and well-approved of life for a large and more edgy one on the fringes of a culture and a way of being that has nearly forgotten how to love and is resoundingly crying out for it.
It takes enormous inner work, great sacrifice of all manner and comfort and safety to inhibit a true soul's adventure, to live and inhabit a true soul's adventure, to live and serve this way. And the rub is the integrated soul-centric way of being is no more available to women than it is to men. To embody individuality as well as to ignite and give birth to it in the world.
It's time we all get it together. Do the hard work, the heavy inner lifting to unearth, wake up, and actuate those aspects of our psyche we may have either disowned, lost track of, or just plain let languish. The world indeed is waiting, teetering, we might say, on the edge of genuinely evolving or devolving further. It's all up to men, all women. Never been a better time to wholly adult than now.
And that's the key. It's all up to all men and all women, and we need to adult. In other words, we need to stop being children. And I think this is what's happening here. This whole trans movement is a very childish movement. People say, well, I don't fit into the stereotype, so therefore I must be the other gender. I like to play with this and that. I like to wear that and that. And it's like, dig deep. Why do you like to wear such and such? What happened to you in childhood that made you want to dress up? Why do men want to venture in dressing up? What moment did mom or dad or whoever stunted the behavior or made them feel that, hey, girls' clothing are much nicer than men's clothing? Something happened along the way to make people feel the way they do. But people don't want to do the work. They really don't want to do the work. They just want to and especially now that it's like free for all here. Be who you want to be. And you say you are, you are. And that's wrong. We are killing humanity. We are hurting ourselves, our planet, and everything in it. We need to really do the work. We need to stop saying that all masculine men have to behave a certain way and all feminine women or all women have to behave a certain way, femininity and all this and the other. We need to take responsibility. We need to really do the soul searching and the work and stop saying, well, I only like wearing men's clothes. I don't like wearing it. I only like, it's like, we need to really try to break away from the programming and try to really figure ourselves out. It's not going to be easy, but I guarantee you it's going to be rewarding. Because once it's like you fix something, and trust me, we need fixing. We do, because we're all broken. Every single human being on this planet, we're broken. And it's because of the way that we have been raised, all this high technology, fast information, instant gratification. Oh, I don't want this, I want that. If we had to deal with what third world countries have to deal with, which is not get a bomb thrown on your house, make sure you have food to eat and a shelter over your head, you wouldn't be thinking of the crap that you're thinking right now. You'll be surviving. And that's a problem with us in the state. It's crazy, totally crazy. Anyway, let's see. That was a good article, I thought. Now, you found this article, and I found it pretty interesting because I could relate with a lot of the things that are being said here. I mean, I love my mother dearly, but, you know, again, byproduct of her environment, of her illness, of the way my grandmother totally spoiled her. And, you know, sometimes mothers could be mommy dearest. Sometimes mother could have what's that, Munchausen syndrome. Sometimes, and again, not to blame because they did the best they could. But there has to be an explanation why we are the way we are. So the article is called "How My Mother's Fanatical Views Tore Us Apart." Is somebody calling us again? That's,
hello, Real Talk. Yes. Yeah, we're doing our show. Are you watching? Oh, thank you. We love doing it. It's fun. Did you have any questions for us? I'm sorry?
Anyway, is that a real call or another?
More kitties.
More kitties playing. Okay, so just if you guys are really interested in calling, before you call, go ahead and get on chat and say what your question is, because we're just not going to waste our time. Anyway, she revealed as a trailblazing feminist and author, Alice Walker touched the lives of a generation of women. A champion of women's rights, she has always argued that motherhood is a form of servitude, and I don't get that kind of stuff. But one woman didn't buy into Alice's beliefs, her daughter, Rebecca, who is now 38. Here the writer describes what it was like to grow up as the daughter of a cultural icon and why she feels so blessed to be the sort of woman 64-year-old Alice despises, a mother.
The other day I was vacuuming when my son came bounding into the room. Mommy, Mommy, let me help, he cried. This is a British article, obviously. Mommy. His little hands were grabbing me around the knees, and his huge brown eyes were looking up at me. I was overwhelmed by the huge surge of happiness.
Okay, I love the way his head nestles in the crook of my neck. I love the way his face falls into a mask of eager concentration when I help him learn the alphabet. But most of all, I simply love hearing his little voice calling, Mommy, Mommy.
It reminds me of just how blessed I am. The truth is that I very nearly missed out on becoming a mother, thanks to being brought up by a rabid feminist who thought motherhood was about the worst thing that could happen to a woman.
You see, my mom taught me that children enslave women. I grew up believing that children are milestones around your neck, and the idea that motherhood can make you blissfully happy is a complete fairy tale. You know, I remember there were times where my mother would take me somewhere and she would tell me, don't call me mom in front of people. She wanted people to think that we were just friends. I mean, who does that? And I mean, stories that, I don't want to degrade my mother online, but you almost feel like you're a burden. You know, that's how my dad made me feel as well. It's like, los niños hablan cuando las gallinas mean, which means children speak when hens pee. You know, when do hens pee, Dad? And according to my father, hens never pee. So it's like, sit there, be quiet, don't move. You know, it was like, it made me feel like, why was I born? You know? And again, that's how, it's like, it goes from generation to generation, and they look at kids as a burden, and that really creates problems, with the way you grow up and your adult psyche.
In fact, having a child has been the most rewarding experience of my entire life. Far from enslaving me, 3.5-year-old Tenzin has opened my world. My only regret is that I discovered the joys of motherhood so late. I've been trying for a second child for 2 years now, but so far with no luck.
And that's something that I will always have to live with. you know, because there's a natural progression in life. You know, you get married, you start your family, and then as you get a certain age, you look forward to having grandkids. These are things that individuals that are not living the life of normalcy don't ever get to experience. And as you get older, it kind of like gets to you a bit, you know, it kind of like bums you out. You're kind of like wondering what would it have been like had I been able to have a little me? Even because I probably wouldn't have had more than one is, you know, the limit, but to have felt that. And I did try at one point when I was living with a lesbian lover, we did try artificial insemination. I tried it 3 times. It never took on. It never happened. You know, I think my virilization, progestin and virilization disorder, which is a form of intersex condition, made me infertile. But, you know, it's something that I always wonder. You know, I feel like left out, like I never got to experience what it was to be a mother. I was raised to believe that women need men like a fish need a bicycle, but I strongly feel children need 2 parents, and the thought of raising tensions without my partner, Glenn, who's 52, would be terrifying.
As a child of divorced parents, I know only too well the painful consequences of being brought up in those circumstances. Feminism has much to answer for denigrating men and encouraging women to seek independence, whatever the cost to their families.
And now again, for any feminists that are watching, you know, we're not putting anyone down. We're reading the article. I think there's a lot of important points. People are entitled to their opinion.
This woman was raised under motherhood of a mother who was basically a real staunch radical feminist. Right. And I mean, she was like one of those big names, Alice Walker, you know, big name.
Definitely.
My mother's feminist principles colored every aspect of my life. As a little girl, I wasn't even allowed to play with dolls or stuffed toys in case they brought out a maternal instinct. It was drummed into me that being a mother, raising children, and running a home were a form of slavery. Having a career, traveling the world, and being independent were what really mattered, according to her.
And see, as I said earlier, this is what happens when bad parenting takes place. Because
it's a really long article.
Yeah.
Really.
I love my mother very much, but I haven't seen her or spoken to her since I became pregnant. She has never seen my son, her own grandchild, my crime, daring to question her ideology.
Well, so be it. My mother may be revered by women around the world, goodness knows. Many even have shrines to her. But honestly, I believe it's time to puncture the myth and to reveal what life was really like to grow up as a child of the feminist revolution.
My parents met and fell in love in Mississippi during the civil rights movement. Dad, Mel Leventhal, was a brilliant lawyer, son of a Jewish family who had fled the Holocaust. Mom was the impoverished 8th child of a sharecropper from Georgia. When they married in 1967, interracial weddings were still illegal in some states.
My early childhood was very happy, although my parents were terribly busy, encouraging me to grow up fast. I was only 1 when I was sent off to nursery school. I'm told that they even made me walk down the street to school.
When I was 8, my parents divorced. From then on, I was shuttled between 2 worlds. My father's well-conservative, traditional, wealthy, white suburban community in New York, and my mother's avant-garde, multiracial community in California. I spent 2 years with each parent, a bizarre way of doing things.
Ironically, my mother regards herself as a hugely maternal woman. Believing that women are suppressed, she has campaigned for their rights around the world and set up organizations to aid women abandoned in Africa, offering herself up as a mother figure.
But while she has taken care of daughters all over the world as a hugely revealed for her public work and service, my childhood tells me a very different story. I came very low down into her priorities. After work, political integrity, and self-fulfillment, friendships, spiritual life, fame, and travel.
My mother would always do what she wanted. For example, taking off to Greece for 2 months in the summer, leaving me with relatives when I was a teenager. Is that independent or just plain selfish?
I was 16 when I found a now famous poem she wrote comparing me to various calamities that struck and impeded the lives of other women's writers. Virginia Woolf was mentally ill and the Bronx died prematurely. My mother had me, a delightful distraction, but a calamity. Nevertheless, I found that a huge shock and very upsetting.
According to the strident feminist ideology of the 70s, women were sisters first, and my mother chose to see me as a sister rather than a daughter. From the age of 13, I spent days at a time alone while my mother retreated to her writing studio some 100 miles away. I was left with money to buy my own meals and lived on a diet of fast food.
Yeah, sisters together. That's the next.
And that's what happened to you.
Yeah.
Your mom saw you as a
sister, a friend, or whatever else. A neighbor, not much older than me, was deputized to look after me. I never complained. I saw it as my job to protect my mother and never distracted her from her writing. It never crossed my mind to say that I needed some time and attention from her. When I was beaten up at school, accused of being a snob because I had lighter skin than my black classmates, I always told my mother that everything was fine, that I had won the fight. I didn't want to worry her. And I did the same thing. And because my mother was so violent, they left me alone in an apartment. That's how I got sexually molested for 4 years. It's like when you have kids, you have to have responsibility. You have to be a responsible parent,
But the truth was I was very, very lonely. And with my mother's knowledge, started having sex at 13.
I did too.
I guess it was a relief for my mother, as it meant I was less demanding. And she felt that being sexually active was empowering for me because it meant that I was in control of my body. Now, I simply cannot understand how she could have been so permissive. I barely want my son to leave the house on a play date, let alone start sleeping around while barely out of junior school.
I went on my first date at 10 without a chaperone. That's crazy. A good mother is attentive, set boundaries, and make the world safe for her child. But my mother did none of those things. Although I was on the pills, something I had arranged at 13, visiting the doctors with my best friend, I felt pregnant at 14. I organized an abortion myself. Now I shudder at the memory. I was only a little girl. I don't remember my mother being shocked or upset. She tried to be supportive, accompanying me with her boyfriend.
Although I believed that an abortion was the right decision for me then, the aftermath haunted me for decades. It ate away at my self-confidence, and until I had Tenzin, I was terrified that I'd never be able to have a baby because of what I had done to the child I had destroyed. For feminists to say that abortion carries no consequences is simply wrong.
Very wrong. As a child, I was terribly confused because while I was being fed a strong feminist message, I actually yearned for a traditional mother. My father's second wife, Judy, was a loving, maternal homemaker with 5 children she doted on. There was always food in the fridge, and she did all the things my mother didn't, such as attending their school events, taking endless photos, and telling her children at every opportunity how wonderful they are. And let me tell you, that is so important. I didn't get that doting. I didn't get told how wonderful I was. On the contrary, I felt like I always had to prove myself.
My mother was the polar opposite. She never came to a single school event. She didn't buy me any clothes. She didn't even help me buy my first bra. A friend was paid to go shopping with me. If I needed help with homework, I asked my boyfriend's mother. Moving between the two homes was terrible. At my father's home, I felt much more taken care of. But if I told my mother that I'd had a good time with Judy, she'd look bereft, making me feel I was choosing this white, privileged woman above her. I was made to feel that I had to choose one set of ideals above the other.
When I hit my 20s and first felt a longing to be a mother, I was totally confused. I could feel my biological clock ticking, but I felt if I listened to it, I would be betraying my mother and all she had taught me. I tried to push it into the back of my mind, but over the next 10 years, the longing became more intense. And when I met Glenn, a teacher at a seminar 5 years ago, I knew I had found the man I wanted to have a baby with. Gentle, kind, hugely supportive. He is, as I knew he would be, the most wonderful father. Although I knew what my mother felt about babies, I still hoped that when I told her I was pregnant, she would be excited for me.
Mom, I'm pregnant. Instead, when I called her one morning in the spring of 2004, while I was at one of her homes house sitting, and told her my news, and that I'd never been happier, she went very quiet. All she could say was that she was shocked. Then she asked if I could check on her garden. I put the phone down and sobbed. She had deliberately withheld her approval with the intention of hurting me. What loving mother would do that?
Worse was to follow. My mother took umbrage at an interview in which I'd mentioned that my parents didn't protect or look out for me. She sent me an email threatening to undermine my reputation as a writer. I couldn't believe she could be so hurtful, particularly when I was pregnant. Devastated, I asked her to apologize and acknowledge how much she'd hurt me over the years with neglect, withholding affection, and resenting me for things I had no control over. The fact that I'm mixed race, that I have a wealthy white professional father, and that I was born at all.
But she wouldn't back down. Instead, she wrote me a letter saying that our relationship had been inconsequential for years, and that she was no longer interested in being my mother, as if you can give it up.
Yeah, right.
She even signed the letter with her first name rather than Mom. That was a month before Tenzin's birth in December 2004, and I've had no contact with my mother since. She didn't even get in touch with me when he was rushed into the special care baby unit after he was born, suffering breathing difficulties.
And I've since heard that my mother has cut me out of her will in favor of one of my cousins. I feel terribly sad. My mother's missing such a great opportunity to be close to her family. But I'm also relieved. Unlike most mothers, mine has never taken any pride in my achievements. She has always had a strange competitiveness that led her to undermine me at almost every turn.
When I got into Yale, a huge achievement, she asked why on earth I wanted to be educated at such a male bastion. Whenever I published anything, she wanted to write her version, trying to eclipse mine. When I wrote my memoir, Black, White, and Jewish, my mother insisted on publishing her version. She finds it impossible to step out of the limelight, which is extremely ironic in light of her view that all women are sisters and should support one another.
It's been almost 4 years since I've had any contact with my mother, but it's for the best. Not only for my self-protection, but for my son's well-being. I've done all I can to be a loyal, loving daughter, but I can no longer have this poisonous relationship destroy my life. I know many women are shocked by my views. They expect the daughter of Alice Walker to deliver a very different message. Yes, feminism has undoubtedly given women opportunities. It's helped open the doors for us at schools, universities, and the workplace. But what about the problem it causes for my contemporaries?
What about the children? The ease with which people can get divorced these days doesn't take into account the toll on children. That's all part of the unfinished business of feminism. Then there's the issue of not having children. Even now, I meet women in their 30s who are ambivalent about having a family. They say things like, "Oh, I'd like a child. If it happens, it happens." I tell them, "Go home and get on with it, because your window of opportunity is very small, as I know only too well."
They do have to get it on to try to have a baby.
They do.
Get it on. Yes.
Get it on.
Get it on. Then I meet women in their 40s who are devastated because they spent 2 decades working on a PhD or becoming a partner in a law firm, and they missed out on having a family. Thanks to the feminist movement, they disconnected their biological clocks, they've missed the opportunity, and they're bereft. Feminism has betrayed an entire generation of women into childlessness. It is devastating.
But far from taking responsibility for any of this, the leaders of the women's movement close ranks against anyone who dares to question them, as I've learned to my cost. I don't want to hurt my mother, but I cannot stay silent. I believe feminism is an experiment, and all experiments need to be assessed on their results. Then, when you see huge mistakes happen made, you need to make alterations.
And, you know, like the feminist movement, I think the transgender movement, I think, you know, it almost like they have the same type of energy about them and flow. You know, it's very interesting. And it's funny because they're always at odds with each other. but there's just something.
It comes from the same energy. It seems like.
Yeah. I hope my mother and I will be reconciled one day. Tenzin deserves to have a grandmother, but I'm just so relieved that my viewpoint is no longer so utterly colored by my mother's. I'm my own woman, and I have discovered what really matters: a happy family. Definitely, and it is very sad.
I'd like to follow up with this article in the future just to see what actually happened, because this is an older article, and Tenzin's already a young man.
Yeah, and it's as I was saying, they never give a parent a manual, and they end up messing up people. Here's this person, not trans, but they've been hurt by an ideology. They've been hurt. It's like society hurts people with their ideology and how people are supposed to act because of the gender they're born, and then there's a ramification that creates scenarios that are abnormal, instead of people, really accepting, like with the other article that we read about the architectural, stuff. So, yeah, it's pretty sad stuff.
So now we're moving on to our spiritual corner, and today we have an article entitled 50 Sentences That Will Inspire You to Change Your Life for the Better. And, it's just, we like to encourage you guys to, instead of looking at a glass as half empty, as I have for most of my life, to look at it as half full, and to not look at your circumstances and feel like there's no recourse, that you have no ability to do anything about it. I mean, it's like there is potential there. You're a beautiful person, and you can change if you want it.
Yeah, you've got to want it, though. That's the key. You've got to really want to change. So you want to start instead.
Go ahead.
Making changes in our lives can seem like one of our greatest challenges, with the power of habit often keeping us doing the same thing each day. Breaking out of our least desirable actions require a consistent source of motivation. In times of need, I turn to the words of men and women who have inspired others and give their saying time to soak in before deciding my next move.
Read the following phrases closely, the article says, taking the time to drink in their deeper meanings. If at first glance they seem simple, take the time to reread them, letting them sit with you as you go about your daily business. By consistently reinforcing positive habits and thinking, it gives us a new opportunity to start fresh each day.
Number 1, your culture limits you in ways you cannot understand until you learn to overcome it.
Number 2, comfort is the enemy of achievement.
Number 3, you're settling and wasting away. The limits that have been laid out in front of you should not be where you stop.
Number 4, we are in charge of our own destiny, and we only have one life to live. Use your time here on earth wisely.
Number 5, success can mean whatever you want it to mean, not whatever anybody else says it is.
6, getting by and being happy are not the same thing.
Number 7, most of us will spend our lives in jobs we hate, dealing with people that we don't like. Use your time to put yourself in a better position. And it doesn't even have to be about a job. It can be about creating your own type of work that you like, things of that nature.
Number 8, don't ever turn down an opportunity, as change means progression.
Number 9, explore new terrains until you find your soul home, or your soul mate.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Number 10, we are born dying and must find a way to enhance the life we have during the time we have it.
Number 11, as human beings, we're naturally curious, and that curiosity needs to be fed, or it will become overwhelming.
Or turn into a monster.
Yes.
12, taste new things, meet new people, and see all the wonders this world has to offer.
Number 13, we are surrounded by opportunities, but miss so many. How many have you missed? Well, the time to stop is now.
14, don't gyp yourself out of a good life.
Number 15, stop deceiving yourself. You're better than that. Stop deceiving yourself.
You're better than that.
Yep.
Learning is better than knowing.
Definitely. Knowledge is golden. Number 17, home is not where you are born. Home is where you find yourself.
18, this world is an exciting place, full of wonderful things.
And that we saw during our journey, indeed. Number 19, why would there be so many amazing things to see if you were not meant to see them?
Number 20, get motivated and figure out what it is you would love to do with your life.
Get away from the mirror and stop thinking that you're something you're not being. I mean, that's what they did. Waste your life that way. 21, challenge the status quo.
Allow yourself to change for the better.
And not change your sex. That doesn't change you for the better. 23, climb mountains, not so the world can see you, but so you can see the world.
Number 24, clinging to things we already know is not the only way to live our lives. Sometimes we have to just go for it.
Number 25, some people travel the world and get out there and do the things that they dream of. Other people travel inside of themselves and choose to only see the world in their own minds. The choice is yours, and I suggest you choose wisely. I like that. Choose only to see the world in their own minds. Yeah.
26, there is so much potential inside of you.
Yes, there is. Number 27, we learn more from failure than we do success. So utilize your mistakes. Yeah.
Number 28, the way we spend our days will be the way we spend our entire lives. How are you spending your days?
Number 29, change is not a bad thing, you know.
Do not fight the universe. It has a plan for you.
And that is so true. Number 31, let go. You have to stop fighting life and learn to go with the flow. Where is your life taking you?
32, you are capable of amazing things and should unearth your potential.
33, life has the potential to be so much more than it is.
34, your dreams can become your reality, but you have to make the first move.
35, you are your own worst enemy.
There is an endless list of rules and expectations laid out before you by society, and that is not the way it should be.
Okay. 37, march to the beat of your own drum.
38, forget everything that you think you know about life.
Learn. 39, learn what you need to know.
40, finding out things for yourself is the only way to know what the truth really is.
41, we all have to die someday. Don't let your life be for nothing.
Other people should not be able to manipulate the world in the way that they do. Stop giving people the power to dictate the way you choose to say and do things.
43, the easy way is never the right way. You have to work for the things you want in life.
44, do you want to be boring and live a boring life?
45, if opportunity never knocks, build a door.
46, the past is gone and has no effect on the future unless you give it that power.
47, what are you waiting for? The longer you wait, the older you get, and nothing else is accomplished other than old age.
48, the biggest risk we face in life is not accomplishing what we are capable of.
49, during our lives we spend more time with ourselves than we do with anyone else. Because of this, it is important that we make ourselves as interesting as possible.
Number 50, the last one. Reach your own conclusion about this world and who you are.
Some of this stuff I find it very scary because that's the mentality where a lot of, I'm going to be who I say I am. And there are boundaries that we do have as humans. And, you know, obviously, you know, there's just certain things that
even in the darkest times, we can all find the strength to keep moving forward towards what is light and beautiful in our lives. Though the road may be hard, it is always worth taking. Try to remember that each time that it seems like it may no longer be worth the next step.
Okay. Next thing is the ultimate way to defy depression, disease, and early death. exercise. I mean, one of the things that has helped me dramatically deal with a lot of issues is when I really get involved, not only in eating healthy, but exercise. So, are you sitting comfortably? Bad idea. Stand up and walk around the house. Leave your desk and jog down the office stairs. Even better, jog up the stairs. If it's lunchtime, go and join a yoga class or head for the shops on foot. What's to lose? You're going to feel better and live longer.
Hardly a day goes by without a new piece of research flagging up the benefits to our physical and mental health of getting more active. On Tuesday, a study of 30,000 Norwegians by the brilliantly named Black Dog Institute in Australia found that even 1 or 2 hours of exercise a week can help prevent depression. On Monday, the Wildlife Trust revealed that 2/3 of its volunteers digging ditches and building bird tables in the open air had better mental health within 6 weeks.
Getting off your backside and moving about, preferably a bit vigorously some of the time, will stave off heart disease, strokes, cancer, and diabetes. It can keep your body pressure steady and help you sleep. You may not shed pounds, but it will help you keep your weight stable. It can overcome anxiety and boost self-esteem. Older people who are active are less likely to have a hip fracture or fall.
We have the sitting disease, according to a report by Public Health England. In March, physical inactivity is one of the top 10 causes of disease and disability in England. It is responsible for 1 in 6 deaths in the UK, which is the same as smoking. It costs the UK an estimated £7.4 billion a year.
That's a lot of money.
If exercise was a pill, it would be the biggest blockbuster in the history of medicine. We weren't built to sit in front of a computer, a TV screen, and a steering wheel. We were designed to be moving around.
It is what we are made to do, says Ned Cavell of Oxford University Department of Public Health. Everyone probably knows the basic point, but often we overlook in our busy modern lives. We are hunter-gatherers. We were designed to be physically active all day long. Our bodies are still stuck in Neolithic times, while our minds are in the 21st century. Given our ancestors were chasing dinner all day long, you might think it follows that we need to be physically active the entire time we're awake, jogging on the spot or at standing desk. But thankfully, Cavell says no. Long-term studies following active and sedentary people until their death have worked out that there is a dose-response curve.
I think it's interesting because, like, we go walking around and don't ever see anybody walking.
No.
This town is not very active in the sense of, when we were in Florida, there were lots more people out there walking on the beach, and exercising. But, here it's like, we must, when we go walking to go get our food at the co-op and we have our backpacks on, people must think we're homeless.
Yeah, they must.
Because they don't equate, oh wait, they're going to get food.
Yeah, we do our groceries and, we put our groceries, weekly groceries in our backpack and we walk. We do our walks, it's usually almost 5 miles, and plus the hour and a half or 2 hours that we're in the gym in the morning,
But I never see people walking.
I know.
I mean, we never go by and go, hey, how are you guys today?
Yeah.
Nice day for a walk, right? No, never.
The reason they do it in Florida is for vanity, because you got the beach and you got the so-called pretty people, and they, really they don't do it. A lot of them don't do it for health. A lot of them just it's a vanity thing. Yeah. And people here are very laid back. They're not all into all that.
And Denny's opened up, so they're Denny's. The more exercise you do, the better it is, up to a certain level, he says. A marathon runner or a triathlete is not doing much better for their health than somebody who was reasonably active. Half an hour a day is what they say now, or 2 for the price of 1 if you do vigorous exercise. Every vigorous minute is the equivalent of 2 moderately active minutes.
Dan Sadley Davis, England chief medical officer who practices before she preaches, goes for a jog twice a week. Even though she says she doesn't doesn't much like it. In order to set an example, she advocates 150 minutes of physical activity a week, which is the equivalent of half an hour, 5 days a week. That can be walking or cycling. It should be enough to raise your heart rate, make you breathe faster, and feel warmer. Vigorous activity is something that makes you out of breath.
I don't like that she says she doesn't like it.
Right.
Because, I mean, if you don't like something, eventually you're going to stop doing it.
Yeah.
So there's so many physical activities that we can do. I mean, getting on a bicycle, rollerblading, taking up jogging, walking. I mean, throwing a frisbee. I mean, there's stuff that you can do, but whatever you do, make sure that you like it. Because if you don't, it won't last.
Tennis, something. I mean, I enjoy everything that we do. I love the gym, and I try to make it fun, different, and go walking. I love because we get to visualize things, and we're going to start running again, to just change it up a bit. The fashion these days is not for gym membership, but better lifestyles. Phone apps that tell us how many steps we have walked each day have been revelatory. An obsession in some cases, cycling and strolling, walking up escalators and shunning lifts, standing up every 20 and 30 minutes. There are those who set their phones or timers are all healthy. But there is also the forgotten recommendation, says Cavill, which is a bit harder to incorporate into the way we live today. We should all be doing some load-bearing exercise according to NHS choices. Adults should be doing exercise 1, 2, or more days a week. That works all the major muscles, your legs, your hips, your back, your abdomen, your chest, your shoulders, and arms.
This is particularly important for women as they age to avoid the weakening arm muscles and bone thinning that can lead to fractures. And we don't routinely lift loads much anymore. Internet shopping is bad for you, remarks Cavill. The answer is anything you can think of that uses muscles. Either that, walk back from the local shops, carrying bags of groceries, as we do, or boring bicep curls and sit-ups, perhaps with weights, or digging in the garden, or yoga.
Gardening is something I used to love to do a lot. Cavill thinks there may be a particular benefit from activities undertaken outdoors. I certainly feel it myself. I much rather exercise in the woods than in the gym. He says conservation projects and green gyms do well. It's back to the hunter-gathering point. We were not made to live inside.
Dr. Justin Varney, the Adult Health and Physical Activity lead at PHE, likes to talk about physical activity. He says the word exercise conjures, for most of us, lycra and exercise cycles, and although that works for some people, for others it's like saying, let's go and climb Mount Everest tomorrow.
PHE encourages brisk walking, gardening, dancing, and anything physical, really. I don't care how you get hot and sweaty for 10 minutes each day. I just want you doing it, he says. He doesn't expect or even want everybody to get their 150 minutes a week by doing the same activity every day. That's not the way we are. We are the nature promiscuous with our physical activities, and that's great, he says. It will make a huge difference, not only how well you live, but how long you live. Whether you can get out of a chair on your own is one of the best predictors of premature mortality as you age, he says.
It is so important to be active, and yet none of the experts any longer thinks it is enough just to tell people that. As with unhealthy and eating and drinking too much, we enjoy sitting about too much to want to stop. To make us move, physical activity has to be almost impossible to avoid. A ban on cars is not likely anytime soon, but efforts are underway to steer us towards Shank's Pony instead by redesigning our towns and cities, or more realistically, tweaking them when the opportunity arises. That means, for instance, painting cycle routes on roads where it isn't feasible to put in a protected lane.
In March, a report of the PHE opened with the gloomy news that half of all women and 1 in 3 men are still damaging their health by sitting around. The decline in activities since the 1960s will put increasing pressure on strained health and social care, and the quality of life for individuals and communities unless addressed, it said. It was an update on a report called Everybody's Active Every Day, which came out in October 2014. It takes years to shift people's habits. It's reflected, but the efforts in 2 years have seen a 1% increase in the numbers of people doing their 150 minutes a week, or 500,000 people in England enjoying better health and well-being.
Like cutting down on junk food, it's been recognized that we need some help, that the environment around us, full of cars and snacks, elevators and sugary drinks, is part of the problem that governments not only could, but should do something about. From ensuring we have green spaces to walk into prioritizing pedestrians and cyclists when it comes to designing new traffic systems.
Barney has just been working with the World Health Organization on a new global action plan for physical activity. It's about the member states can do to make it easier for their people. At the end of the day, people make decisions in their lives based on what is easiest, most effective, and most efficient, or what gives them most joy. If you go out of your front door and there is no place to walk or it's not safely lit, you're not going to do it.
He is hugely enthusiastic. He talks about increasing sports and physical activity in schools and ensuring doctors and nurses get taught about the importance of physical activity and that it is part of their exams so they revise.
It's a huge undertaking to change our culture to make us more active, even though it will make us healthier and happier. Their initiatives are not drops in the ocean, says Barney. He prefers to think of them as a bunch of pebbles. You throw them into a pond so that the ripple becomes a wave, and a wave changes the shoreline.
They get it right in Amsterdam and Copenhagen, of course, where everybody seems to be born on two wheels, and apparently also in Finland. There is strong exercise culture, perhaps rooted in cross-country skiing and outdoor exploration, says Cavell. They do Nordic walking in the summer legally, and policy-wise, they have pushed it for years. Someone told me that the Finns are very obedient. If the government tells them to exercise, they exercise. The British are not usually characterized that way, but if we all understood that happiness and health is just a light jog away, maybe we would vote with our feet.
So the key to a healthy body and mind is a combination of aerobic and strength exercise several times a week, explains Dr. David Broom, a senior lecturer in physical activity and health at Sheffield Hallam University. Variety is the spice of life, and we should be doing different range of physical activities so we don't get bored. It is also about reducing sedentary behavior and getting up and moving around every 20 minutes.
0 to 5-year-olds recommendations. Babies and toddlers need to be active throughout the day, every day, to enable them to develop gross motor skills and physical literacy. This can involve a variety of movements: reaching and grasping, pulling and pushing, lying on their stomach and lifting their body up, also known as tummy time. Toddlers should be active for at least 3 hours a day, with a mixture of light play, such as walking and moving around, and energetic play, such as running or climbing.
5 to 18 years old. Developing bone strength is crucial for young people as they reach their maximum bone density between ages of 18 and 20. And those that are on blockers won't get that. Youngsters should be moderately or vigorously active for at least an hour a day, and on 3 days a week. This should involve strengthening activities such as skipping, jumping, running, and gymnastics. Moderate aerobic activities could include walking, riding a scooter, skateboarding, or cycling. Vigorous activities include running, swimming, martial arts, rugby, and dance. And kids nowadays don't get that.
No, I mean, they said that like 90% of kids don't even go outside anymore. 90.
That's pretty sad.
19 to 64-year-olds. That's a huge gap there. The main focus in this age group is aerobic activity to reduce the risk of disease and premature death, and strength training to support activities of daily living, such as carrying heavy shopping bags. The minimum recommended exercise length is 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity a week, brisk walking, water aerobics, tennis doubles, or 75 minutes of vigorous activity, running, hockey, uphill cycling, or a mixture of both. Moderate or vigorous activity should be complemented with strength exercises at least twice a week, such as heavy gardening, lifting weights, or yoga. The more activity you do and the higher the intensity, the greater the benefit.
Definitely. And 65 years old and plus, activities to improve balance, coordination, and flexibility are extremely important for older adults so they are able to avoid falls and maintain a good quality of life. Older adults are also advised to exercise moderately for at least 150 minutes a week or do 75 minutes of vigorous activity. Weight-bearing activities are more significant at this age, so people are able, for example, to get out of a chair unaided and live independently. There are no restrictions on the types of activities older people should do, and they should continue to do the exercise or sports they enjoy. And we've been watching this one lady in the gym who had a stroke, and the people who take care of this person, and they're putting her through all these exercise machines, but this person is not working on any of the balance, coordination, flexibility, which are very important for her.
No, they have her like constricting herself on weight machines.
Yeah.
I mean, doing like these ab exercises, and you know, it's like
close-ended type of exercise, opening and
you know,
and things that will help improve her walking, her balance, and things of that nature. But you know,
they have her getting on a Stairmaster.
Yeah,
you know,
which is crazy. It's like she could barely walk with a walker.
Didn't she break her foot? Or?
Yeah. Instead of having her do marching in place, put some ankle weights and have a mark in place, you know, that's a lot safer than making her get on a Stairmaster. I mean, I just, you know, and it's like, as a therapist,
it must be
very
frustrating, excruciating, because I know as a camera person that if I was watching somebody shooting a film and then they're not doing the right things, their lighting was off, or you know, their camera was set up and it was all off angle and their framing was bad, I would be like, you know, or their headroom was like really bad. And for you, it's like you've been trained in medical stuff. So, I mean,
it's very, very painful for me. So, you know, for depression, exercise is important, but you also have to eat the right kind of foods, because your brain is one big chemistry set. So if you're putting a diet that is acidic, not only are you going to get cancer, but you're going to be subjective to anxiety and depression and all sorts of mental issues. I mean, your brain is so very important, and a lot of your depression stems from the improper chemistry in your brain. People that are on hormones are subject to depression and anxiety because you're messing with your natural chemistry, your natural endocrine system. When you eat animal-based products like milk, cheese, beef, chicken, fish, you're also creating an acidic environment, which also messes with the chemistry in your brain, so you will experience depression. You need to cleanse yourself out. Do fast, reboot yourself, and only put in plant-based foods. You want depression to go away, that's the way to go. And if you really want to go hardcore, you're in therapy. You know, but depression, you don't have to live on medication and be a slave to big pharma. You can take control of your life. I mean,
it's possible, but it's a matter of if you really want that to happen.
Exactly. And, you know, it's like the way I look at people, you want to be happy? Or do you want to be stuck in an ideology in life based on what you think your life should be? Do everything within your power to try to make this unreality a reality. You're going to face depression, anxiety, fears, anger, frustration, and everything. Or you could be the best you that you can be and really work on what you got and who you are, and you will see your life change. I promise you that.
And if you think that putting in hormones to your body is somehow making your life healthier, more functional, better, and you think that that is how you're going to live your authentic life, realize this, that hormones actually, when they're put into the body synthetically, they do everything to disrupt your normal hormonal flow. And when your hormones are off balance, that creates what? Disease. And disease creates problems for you, and cancer, and all kinds of...
Even your mental psyche, because the mind and body work together. You know, you have an unhealthy body, you're going to have an unhealthy mind. You have an unhealthy mind, you're going to have an unhealthy body. Your body is a chemistry set. Your endocrine system controls everything. Your hormones are very important. A hormonal imbalance will create schizophrenia, will create bipolarness, will create all sorts of personality disorder, all sorts of depression, anxiety, you name it. So you need to keep your natural hormones balanced. And the only way to do that is by eating right, not putting anything in there that does not belong. That includes any type of medication, exercising, breathing, go out in nature. And, you know, all this craziness and all this trauma that you've had from childbirth or childhood will eventually work itself out. Make the time to deal with your wounds. Meditate, think about it, write a journal. Ask yourself, what makes me tick? Why am I so angry? Why do I feel that I need to be something I'm not? Really look into it. Really be honest with yourself. If you really want to change, if you really want to heal, then you've got to do that. Unless you want to continue the same crap all the time to the point where you're going to age because stress kills and ages you and makes you sad and sick and frustrated. You need to take control of this once and for all.
Yeah, I guess that's it. We got a show.
Yep.
7:30.
Yeah. Today we quit earlier than because I didn't. Yeah, time to eat. So we have a song that we put together today. It's a song I wrote. It's on my album Enslaved. It's called I Feel. If you guys are interested, we're going to be sharing this video right now. It's on private mode, but we're going to be sharing it and the information how to get the CD. If you want to download the whole CD or just the song for today, you could go with the CD Baby and the link will be there. Or if you want me to send you an autographed copy of the full CD, which has 16 wonderful songs that I wrote, it's called Enslaved. I'd be happy to do that. You just donate on our blog, which is here on the description of our shows. And once you donate and you write to us at transitionradioshow@gmail.com with your address, we'll mail you a signed autographed copy of Enslaved. Guys, don't forget to subscribe, share our information. I know a lot of you don't agree with what we're saying or what we're doing, but trust me, we're doing this for your own good, for the good of the planet, for the good of your psyche, for you to heal and learn and grow and stop living in this madness, because it really solves absolutely nothing. Trans people either end up dead, sick, or alone, or all of the above. In the long term, there is no true happiness. You might have a temporary little, happiness that you think you've made it, you've gotten there, but then that pendulum, the same as it went this way, is going to go back this way. And when that fall comes down to it, it's going to hurt. And it's going to hurt bad. All right, so guys, we love you, but remember to always love yourselves too. Good night. Here we go. We're going to share this stuff here. Hope you enjoy the song.
What do you see when you close your eyes? Do you see like I see you? Do you feel me like I feel you? It hurts inside.
Don't you be afraid at all. Live your life in love. Throw your fears away. Do you see me like I see you? Do you feel me like I feel you? Baby, I love you. Feel like I'm dying for tonight. Baby, without you. Feel free. Just me. That I die tonight, every night, every night. That I die tonight, every night, every that I would die tonight, every night, every night.